In 1947, when British left India, it was a complete chaos everywhere. The aftermath of the partition of India and the fragility of India's defense systems, along with subsequent wars with China and Pakistan, made India and the Indians even weaker. From receiving its first loan of $32 million from the World Bank in 1948 to pledging its gold reserves as collateral for an IMF bailout during the 1991 economic crisis, historically, India had been one of the largest overall borrowers from the World Bank. But today, this is not the story of Bharat anymore. With the dawn of the 21st century, the Indian mindset of roti kapada makan started changing, and we Indians have started to come out of the colonial hangover. Nearly 8 decades after independence, from providing financial assistance to developing countries in Asia and Africa, to donating COVID vaccines to the entire world, Bharat is now positioning itself as a global soft power. The latest display of Bharat's power pitch was seen at the recently concluded G20 Summit in South Africa. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who represented the united 1.4 billion people of Bharat, is being described as the most valuable player of the summit. In this video, we look at Modi's charisma, which was in full display at the G20 Summit. Hi, hello, vanakkam, namaskar. Welcome to POV World from Bharat YouTube channel, World through Bharat Lens. The G20 Johannesburg Summit was the 20th meeting of the Group of 20, G20, and it was held at the Johannesburg Expo Centre, Johannesburg, South Africa on 22nd and 23rd November 2025. It was the first G20 summit to take place on the African continent. Russian President Vladimir Putin did not attend the summit due to the outstanding arrest warrant issued against him by the International Criminal Court after the invasion of Ukraine, and South Africa being part of the ICC, he could not land in South Africa. Chinese President Xi Jinping also has skipped the summit, and no clear reasons are being cited for his absence. Xi did not attend the 2023 G20 Summit too, which was held back in 2023 in India. US President Donald Trump completely boycotted the summit over the allegations on South Africa persecuting its minority White Afrikener community. Just 2 months back, Modi's bromance and rapport with the Chinese President Xi and the Russian President Putin at the SCO Summit in China became a talking point globally. More and more global talking points are on cards in the coming days when Russian President Vladimir Putin will visit India this week, and we can expect to see once again a display of Modi's bromance with Putin. Similar to the SCO Summit, Modi was seen sharing hugs with several world leaders at the G20 Summit, including Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, reflecting the personal rapport that has become a defining element of Modi's global outreach. In the absence of USA, India did not fail to seize the opportunity to lead the Global South priorities under the theme Solidarity, Equality, Sustainability. Let us now understand what is Global South. Global South is a term that emerged as a successor of the term Third World. It includes emerging middle powers like India, China, and Brazil, alongside various small island developing states and countries in the Middle East too, as well as many African nations. The Global South is significant today as number one, it comprises of more than 85% of the world's population. Number two, holds approximately 40% of the global GDP, that is the gross domestic product. Number three, it pushes for a multipolar world, greater representation in global governance, and addresses issues like climate finance, debt, and development through platforms like BRICS Plus and SCO. At the G20, Modi held multiple bilateral meetings, including that with Japan's new Prime Minister Sane Takaichi, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, Italy's Giorgio Meloni, and also South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung. Now let's look at the highlights of Modi's speech at the summit. Modi reiterated his strong belief in amplifying the voice of the Global South. PM Modi also described the African Union's G20 permanent membership as an historic step. The permanent membership to African Union was achieved at the New Delhi G20 Summit in 2023. He also emphasized that this spirit of inclusivity must extend beyond G20 grouping so as to shape the future of global governance. Modi also participated in the India-Brazil-South Africa Leaders Meeting, IBSA meeting, where he, President Lula da Silva and President Cyril Ramaphosa projected a unified Global South voice inside the G20. IBSA is a trilateral intergovernmental dialogue forum that brings together three major developing democracies from three different continents, India, Brazil, and South Africa. It was founded in 2003 with the aim of creating a new international order and having their collective voice heard on global issues. PM Modi emphasized food security, digital public infrastructure, counter-terrorism cooperation, and capacity building for developing nations. He also announced a skills training initiative for 1 million trainers in Africa over the next decade. Though the presidents of China and Russia did not attend the summit, they had sent their top officials to represent them at the summit. While Chinese Premier Li Qiang, who is next in rank only to Xi Jinping, headed the Chinese delegation, the Russian delegation was headed by Maxim Oreshkin, who is the deputy head of the Russian presidential administration. However, it was the United States of America which was completely absent from the summit and had boycotted the event entirely. This was the first time in the G20 history that a member skipped all proceedings, including the presidency handover. So what is a presidency handover? At the close of every G20 summit, a presidency handover ceremony is held where the current presidency country transforms the presidency gavel to the country which will hold the next presidency. Like after the completion of G20 Summit 2023 in New Delhi, during India's G20 presidency, Prime Minister Narendra Modi handed over the gavel of G20 presidency to Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Gavel is a small hammer in which an auctioneer or judge or a chair of a meeting hits a surface to call for attention or order. But for the first time in G20's history, since the United States of America, which will hold the next G20 presidency, was absent totally from the summit, the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the summit as closed by banging the gavel onto the table, and he also rejected a US proposal for him to hand over the gavel to a much junior US official instead of the head of the state. After a week of political and diplomatic tensions, South Africa finally handed over the G20 presidency to the United States of America in a quiet and a low-key ceremony which was held in Pretoria in South Africa. With the absence of three of the world's largest economies, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi took the center stage in this year's G20 Summit, establishing Bharat as the global soft power once again. In a rare instance, even when the powerful economies of the world were absent, the world leaders at the G20 Summit were able to reach a broad consensus on disaster resilience, debt sustainability, and just energy transition and critical minerals, as they adopted the G20 South Africa Summit Leaders Declaration. Thanks to Bharat, which took the center stage and led the summit successfully.